Hello everybody, this is Ryan, also known as Mr. MyMCD, and in this video I'm going to be discussing my impressions of the full retail release of Dead Space 3 on the Xbox 360. For those who are still unaware of the Dead Space series, Dead Space 3 is the third entry in the trilogy of the Dead Space titles that is developed by Visceral Games and published by EA. It tells the story of Isaac Clarke and John Carver on their journey as they travel across a mysterious frozen planet in order to find the key to ending the alien necromorph plague forever. Isaac and John will have to overcome avalanches, treacherous ice climbs and more as they deal with the ever-vicious necromorphs. Before I begin, I want to say these are my first impressions as I have not finished the game, but I have played for around 5 hours and this is what I have to say about Dead Space 3. Dead Space 3 in essence is, quite frankly, a little bit disappointing, and I'll go into why with its story. First of all, the story feels a bit weaker than Dead Space 2. It still is engaging and exciting, but it isn't nearly as interesting. The way it's presented is very good, but you don't feel like it's as good as Dead Space 2, which is kind of annoying. When Dead Space 2 wrapped up, it really felt like a worthy end, and whilst this is a good story in its own right, Dead Space 3, it kind of feels like it was slapped on, the story it is. It just feels like they wanted to leech out more of Isaac Clarke one last time, and it does feel a little bit pointless. You'll meet characters in the game that you know you're not going to care about, but what really bumps me out more than anything in the story is just that it's less condensed than the previous two games. Before it was about Isaac's quest with a few characters here and there, but now it's pretty much Isaac and John's. And whilst John really is in the game when you're playing solo, he can destroy the flow with his bro-like attitude that is completely different from Isaac. And he'll pop into cutscenes for no reason to just interrupt what's happening with Isaac Clarke. Personally, I don't like John at all. Ellie and the gang are still in the game, which is pretty good, and the voice acting is top notch as you would expect. But making the story having a larger scale and meaning to it is what I didn't like about Resident Evil 6, and it's here a bit too. Not on the same scale, of course, but the fact that the story is trying to expand so much, it doesn't feel like Dead Space to me anymore. Dead Space was claustrophobic and all about Isaac Clarke and really just him, but now it's all a bigger scale, and yeah, I don't really like that, and it still runs into the gameplay as well. Perhaps it's because I haven't played Dead Space in a while, but it feels very predictable now with its monster closets and fights. Sometimes it's unexpected, but most times you're going to know where everything's coming. Usually when you open a door to a new area, someone's going to be there, or find a key of sorts. It's all a bit samey to me. What I dislike about the gameplay as well is the fact that we now have human enemies in the game. They aren't there for long, thankfully, only in the beginning portions, but the fact that they are there kind of detracts from the whole necromorph mythos that we established in the first two games. I just hope I don't run into any more human enemies, because they have guns and they're annoying as hell, just like they were in Resident Evil 5 for example. Dead Space 3 tries to bring in some new elements too with its crafting system and controls. In terms of controls, there's only real one main difference, and that's now you can crouch by clicking the right stick, but the fact of the matter is you only use it for the intro sequence basically, and after that you'll probably never use it again, and it's a pain in the ass because you want to use something useful, such as the waypoint that displays out of Isaac's hands, but you have to push in the right stick really hard to make it work. So they basically replace something that's useless into something that's useful. It's really weird. I don't like the way they've done that. But now I'm going to get into the crafting system, which I don't really like at all. I like the fact you can customize your weapons a bit more and invent new things, but it just comes off as a bit clunky. In Dead Space 2 it made sense. You had enough money, you could buy that weapon and upgrade it with the nodes. Now you've got all different types of resources and stuff like that, and it just gets annoying and cluttered. It's not too complicated and you'll get your head around it after about an hour or so of play, but there was no real need to overcomplicate such a fine system into such a now dull, annoying one. I really want to go to the bench now because I dread having to craft a new weapon. It's just annoying to me. And when you create something cool, it's just the tedium of going through it that really bogs it down. The only real thing I like about the crafting system is now that you can share those weapons with your co-op partner. There are even co-op side missions in the game as well. The fact you can drop in and drop out co-op with this game is really awesome, but once again, there's some rubbish alongside with it, and it's more to do with the collectibles in the game. There are other side missions in the single player as well, and some of those are just as strong as the main story missions and can be really fun, but scattered across the world is a load, and I mean a load of collectibles. And what do they decide to do? They decide to put some of the collectibles only accessible in co-op, which is a pain in the arse, considering I want to play through the game solo and try and get everything I can. Now I can't because I have to play it through co-op, and that's annoying. If I really want to play this game co-op, I would bring a buddy around, go old school, and you know, do split screen co-op, but because there's no split screen co-op option, that really sucks and bogs the game down a bit. Thankfully though, that's really all the negatives out of the way. In terms of positives, Dead Space 3 is presented really well, and that prologue sequence is right up there with some other AAA titles. The fact you can finally wear a suit that you like the look of without worrying about the advantages and disadvantages is really awesome. And Dead Space 3 has plenty of different modes to choose from, some that I really like and really changed the gameplay, and there isn't that terrible multiplayer from the previous game, thankfully. Furthermore, the graphics of Dead Space 3 are awesome as you expect. There's some really good facial animation here. Sometimes it is a little bit out of sync, but it still looks great. The worlds look vibrant and are full of detail, and you can really get immersed in the world of Dead Space 3, even if the story isn't as compelling. But man, that sound. The sound in Dead Space 3 is amazing. The fact that I haven't played Dead Space in a while has made me realise just how great the sound direction is in these games. It's right up there with Battlefield Bad Company 2 and more so. It just has real meat to it. I love it. Everything sounds so heavy and forceful, and it makes Dead Space 3 a real treat to the ears. And if you haven't played Dead Space in a while, or any Dead Space title, you should definitely go and try out just for the sound. It really, really is awesome. And what I do like is that you can drop into Dead Space 3 right now and it just plays like how it used to. There's some changes, but it feels right at home. You'll be cutting off limbs, stomping on enemies and crates for goodies, and using your status to bypass spinning fan blades. It's all there, and let's not forget the plasma cutter, that's still as beast as ever. And whilst it does seem at the beginning I was bashing on Dead Space 3, this is still the first few hours. I can only hope that it gets better later on, not worse. Who knows? We don't know. Well, I don't know at least anyway, I haven't finished the game. But Dead Space 3 is shaping up to be pretty good. I am disappointed by some of Visceral Games' choices, the story mainly, and that crafting system, which, don't like it at all. But if you like Dead Space 3, stay on this channel and expect some more gameplay from it. Thanks for watching, guys, and be sure to subscribe for more videos from me. Have a nice day.
They need you more than I do.